climate, visitor experience. So it's really a wide-ranging project. And I guess I don't have a PowerPoint. I have a couple screenshots that can help us kind of stay on target as far as topics and help us talk about what we're doing this season. But I'd hope to have kind of a interactive question and answer session more than me just talking at you. So with that, I'm curious about, for those of you who are on the phone and can talk, like how long have you been here? What's your background? What's your role? Who is on the phone that can actually talk?
So this is Reese. I'll go ahead and start off. This is my second summer season at Mount Rainier. I started off in 2018 doing West District Interp. Okay. I am returning as the East Side Meta Rover coordinator.
Meta Rover, perfect, great. Yep. Who else is on the team's meeting?
My name is Brittany Burnett. I'm on the digital media team. This is my second season here at Mount Rainier, but I've been doing the Park Service, Forest Service stuff for about 3 years.
Great.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
This is Caroline Malidi. I'm on the intermedia team. I am a term, but I was an intern here in 2016 and 2017.
Yes, Caroline, it's good to have you back.
Thanks.
And then we have a room full of folks I see, and you just can't talk. It's okay, we can keep going at this point, and maybe you'll get audio at some point. So where to start? I think that I'll try and just focus in on the resources that may be useful for you to do your own investigation, and then frame it in terms of the projects that we're working on this year, if that works. Of course, I know you all kind of have different slants as far as whether it be media or interacting with the public, but at least the information is there for you to delve in deeper. And then I want to reiterate that, so my background is mainly a physical scientist. I have a master's in environmental engineering, so it's more on the air quality, water quality, less biotic side, but we have experts within our program that are dealing with amphibians, fish, and even macroinvertebrates as well. So I guess my point is I encourage all of you to reach out, and I can help connect you with those folks to delve deeper into each one of these topics. So I am going to share my screen with you just because I have a few resources that can help us talk through some things. And I wanted to start with soundscapes. So I'm assuming you all can see this. If those of you that can talk would let me know.
Yep, I can see it.
Awesome. So it's kind of an odd one to start with, given that that's I'm the aquatic ecologist, but in reality, this topic really influences many things, as you can imagine, all things wildlife. It also has a huge implication for the visitor experience, and it's amazing. I challenge each of you as you go out on your hikes, you're alone, to stop and listen to all the sounds around you. And Mount Rainier is a very dominant water park, but the birds are phenomenal for those of you birders. But I draw attention to this page here that actually presents all of our locations of soundscapes data collection over the years by site, and also then provides just a little snippet of some sounds you might hear. And then for those of the amphibian enthusiasts, that's a western toad signal, which you don't really hear very often. But this page here represents an incredible source of a variety of sounds that people experience throughout Mount Rainier. And I think, for the visitors, it really highlights a variety of unique habitats, and also creates a tie both to, like I mentioned, the aquatic world, but a really direct tie to wildlife in the park. So it's a great resource. And, I'd hope to have kind of a question and answer after each of these topics. So I'm just going to stop to ask if anyone has any questions about soundscapes. This page that is actually available on our website really has kind of in-depth information on the why, the what, and how it in the past has been interpreted, and what people think is the most important qualities about it. But any questions? We are probably setting up a few sites this summer just to collect data at a few subsets of sites to continue basically the baseline and also to try and track any changes over time. In the fall, I know the park's starting up an air tour management planning project. So these data will directly help that management decision on how many, where to allow air tour managements around the park for the future.
Hey, Rebecca, I have a question.
Yeah.
We have sound also.
That's so awesome.
Thanks for doing this for us. And we're the East Side Interpretive Crew, Sunrise and Ohana. Yeah, I'm really curious. It seems like that the world and the Northwest are listening more during this quiet time of the COVID lockdown and not having visitors in the park here. And I'm wondering if you guys have any plans for comparisons of like a normal spring opening versus this year.
We have had so many conversations about how great it would be to sneak into the park and put up a soundscape monitor just for that purpose. But we don't have any date. We don't have any recorders out at this moment in time. We do have comparisons from the past when the park has been closed for a variety of reasons. And so it is a goal really to track these unique events like now, but then also long-term trends. So it's one of the main purposes we keep putting monitors out kind of on a rotating basis. So.
Thanks.
So I just heard that you said that we don't currently have any just sort of measuring devices in the field at Mount Rainier. I'm wondering what goals you might have that would involve implementing more, just recording the soundscapes of Mount Rainier.
So that is a great question. The first goal of this program was really to establish a baseline at Mount Rainier. What are our sounds like and where, whether it be in the forest or upper elevation. I think the next stage is really some site-specific data collection to support what I just mentioned, the air tour management plan. So if we're actually going to propose a certain amount of air tour management at a certain level, what might the sound impacts be at that elevation at certain sites? But then I think the really interesting thing about soundscapes are the specific research questions. Like we know that road traffic has an impact on the audible sounds of amphibians. And so there's certain specific research projects that can, kind of narrow down to try and get at these questions. We were trying to use them for, I brought up the littorals. It just happened to be the site I chose, the Western Toad Call. But it's really hard to know on a year-to-year basis when they show up in the spring to mate, essentially. And so we can pick them up by sound. And so that would be just an example of a targeted research project. Like if we wanted to know for sure, we could install these sensors to start to learn about phenology. So there's lots of options. We aren't doing that now, but certainly have lots of ideas.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to switch topics entirely and talk about kind of a larger scale project the park's been working on, and that has to do with fish and really aquatic ecosystems. In 2018, we finished a fish management plan environmental assessment where we were looking at kind of a variety of actions, but the main goal of these actions is really to restore aquatic ecosystems. Fish are a really interesting they're such an interesting resource. I think everyone can relate to fish. In the park here, our mountain lakes were naturally fishless, so no fish. Amphibians were the top predator. As with many places throughout the United States, the federal government and state stocked fish in lakes for recreational purposes. And we still have about 35 lakes that have reproducing populations of fish. In the 70s or so, we stopped. We also stocked in our streams. So there's a mix of native and non-native fish in our streams. And the primary non-native we have in Mount Rainier is the brook trout. And we have, through this fish management plan, kind of targeted a few sites, a few specific lakes, mainly lakes where we were interested in restoring the amphibians as the top predator, because we know fish have a pretty large impact on every level of the ecosystem in a lake, but also particularly amphibians. And also these places where brook trout might interact with bull trout, which is a native threatened and endangered species in the park. I just wanted to show you this video while I'm talking. And so we know that they're both char species. We know that they compete for resources. And so we did this targeted planning effort to remove fish at 10 lakes. And so we're just starting that effort to use gill netting efforts, mechanical efforts to remove fish from these lakes and really track the response over time. We also have incorporated culverts, replacing culverts with fish passage culverts as well in this plan, updating our fishing regulations as well, which was kind of a big effort for the park. Our fishing regulations, I think, were from the 60s and included things like the take will be 12 fish plus 20 pounds. So it was really not targeted towards protecting the resource. It was mainly targeted towards the recreational fishing, which is, is equally important for our park, but just in the last year, we finally have updated, and I'm bringing up all of our websites, really. So the information is here. Kristen Loving just helped me update this page with our fishing regulations. And also, we have this fish pamphlet that includes illustrations that we worked with a local illustrator to create. And then just the reason behind the why, the history of, and then our new fishing regulations. And so this is brand new, it came out last month. And I think the goal for the park, we're not a huge fishing park, but people love to come and fish at our lakes. Some in our streams, but really the goal is to encourage people to come to fish, but also to help folks understand what's going on in the park as far as how we managed in the past and how kind of we're shifting our management strategies and really the why behind it. So I encourage you to take a look at this and ask any questions, help us get the message out about it. And with that, I wanted to stop with any questions, discussions. And if not, I can move on. One really unique characteristic about Mount Rainier, as you all can imagine, related to the glaciers and just the location in the watershed, are our stream temperatures. And this was a project that we completed with a large group. It was the Puget Sound Salmon Enhancement Group. It was the Puyallup Tribe. This was data collected through a helicopter. It's thermo-infrared. They collected it on 2 days in August, essentially last year. And it really shows the value of our park. And we know that the biodiversity, the fish species, all aquatic species related to these cold temperatures are really protected by our park. And obviously the cold colors represent the cold water. And as you go downstream to the Puget Sound, you can see the temperatures change. And to me, the protection of this resource and all the things, the habitat it supports is really one of the values, one of the many values of Mount Rainier. But furthering this project, we have a couple modeling projects with USGS going on to try and predict future conditions as glaciers recede and what some of those impacts may be. So we have a slew of temperature sensors out currently, mainly in the white watershed, which is this watershed here. Can you actually see my mouse when I move it? Yes. And the carbon. Really just trying to collect a baseline now and input the parameters we know that may change and try and reflect what those may be in the future. So this is another pretty big project we've been working on. Any questions at this point?
Hi, Rebecca. Is this graphic available to us anywhere? Because I would love to use it in our interpretive programs.
This graphic plus many more. So the output of this project is essentially it's a GIS online ArcMap project, and I can send you the link and you can change the colors and display it and work with it in any capacity that you want. And I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, and there's an associated report that goes along with it too, which the report, I'm not getting into detail here, but mainly I just wanted to throw these out as teasers to see if you were interested in, and then I'd be happy to follow up with any of these products. But it gets into the amount of detail, like Klickitat Creek, which is over in the white. You can pick out the groundwater influence even in these cold water environments. And so it just shows the complexity of the habitat we have in the park. So it's really fascinating. But yes, I'd be happy to share all this information. I mentioned, air quality, and the link between air quality and water quality is for our park really key. We are the top of the watershed, so really a lot of the impact to our water quality comes in the form of atmospheric deposition, and which is one of the reasons why it's in the aquatics division. Key things to know about our park is we are a Class 1 air protected area under the Clean Air Act, and I just want to emphasize the value of that. It essentially means that any outside influence that has an impact on our airshed is really evaluated by our Air Resource Division for impact. And so the Clean Air Act, really states that this airshed will have no further degradation. And so any input from the outside really needs to ensure that whatever they're emitting isn't going to have an added impact on our airshed. And so the data we collect in our park are really used for analysis on any outside development as a potential impact to us. And there's been a lot of negotiation with the park, the Air Resource Division, to try and improve emissions from sources outside the park so they aren't impacting the Class 1 area. And there are many Class 1 areas in the United States. It's not just Park Service, it's federal service too. So it really highlights the huge value of the Clean Air Act. And so within that framework, we have visibility monitoring going on. We have acid deposition going on, long-term monitoring going on. We have a few publications to support that as well. We have ozone monitors, continuous, that we work in tandem with the Washington Department of Ecology and also on our own with EPA that we operate and collect continuous data. And then over time, over the years, we've collected data on mercury, both in sediment, but also in fish, in snow, and kind of a wide range of current and historic use pesticides and chemicals, and basically their distribution in the park. So this website has an incredible amount of information on all of the projects we've been doing in the past. What I think I want to say about that for current work is, what we've learned through our mountain lake studies and through our air quality studies has really, to me, created a story about each lake in our park. And this also ties to fish too. And what I mean by that is when I think of, has anyone been to Deadwood Lake? For those of you on the east side, I can't see all of you.
What lake?
Deadwood Lake. I'm just picking a lake on the east side. It's a really popular lake off the PCT trail. People go and fish there. There's actually pretty good sized fish. We know from past studies that it actually has high mercury levels too. We know that it has, some individual amphibians have had chytrid fungus, a positive result. We also track Deadwood Lake as one of our long-term monitoring lakes. So we have over 15 years of data on this lake. And I think the reason I bring that up again is just because to me, this park and all the lakes in it have become individual lake stories for me. So each lake kind of has its own attributes. Some have no fish, some have low mercury, some are completely clear, whereas others are just the opposite. And it's a really unique environment to be able to study. And in the instance of our fish management plan, make decisions perhaps to try and restore and protect some of these ecosystems as well. And when it comes to air quality, the work that's tied to these lakes is, to me, just part of the story. So I want to make sure that you have access to all these resources. And again, a moment to stop for any questions.
I have a question about lakes that might have fish in them. If visitors are asking, particularly on the east side, what might be a good lake to fish that maybe doesn't have mercury in it? Or I don't know if there'd be like 2 or 3 examples that would be like high on your list of, hey, I want to go fishing, where would I go?
Yeah, certainly we have, so Deadwood being one of them. We have a list of lakes that we would recommend for certain, and I can provide that as well. Going back to the mercury conversation, I do want to state that while we do have individual fish that had mercury levels above the human health consumption level, we still, when you're looking at the broader Washington State Public Health would still tell people to come fish at Mount Rainier because we're, the concentrations comparably to the rest of the state are actually lower. But I think it's still notable for a national park. So the thing, back to the fish question, there are lakes that have an overpopulation of fish, so they're a little bit more stunted. And then there are lakes like Deadwood that seem to have kind of self-stabilized, that have decent fishing lakes. And we have about, I'd say, 15 of those in the park. Again, I can provide a list.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So the other really, I think, incredible resource we have at the park are amphibians. And when I go back to telling the story that each lake has a story, we have lakes that you can go and probably not see an amphibian at all. And there are lakes where you will crest the hill just as you're approaching the lake, and you'll be like, what is that swimming in the lake? And there are amphibians just abundant throughout the entire lake. And so one of the things we track are just trends over time at specific locations. We've also done kind of a focus on a Western toad emphasis related to citizen science. This year, we decided as a group not to stand up the citizen science program just because of the unknown nature of COVID-19, but we hope to continue that next year. And it's been a program that has been a huge resource both for us as we can accumulate information from a larger source of people, but also it provides an opportunity for the public to go to places they may never have gone and experience the park in a way that they would not have. So it was really hard for us not to stand that up, but it just made sense this year. We typically have a 2-day amphibian training for identification that we also are not doing this year, but hope to stand up again next year. And still internally for our staff, we're trying to maintain some of the sites that we usually cover with citizen science. But are there any specific questions related to amphibians?
What exactly would the would people in the citizen science program be doing in the park? Just
right.
Like observations? Or?
Yeah, we typically hire an SCA, and on weekends the SCA will take groups from 3 to 4 out to specific locations. They'll do a visual encounter survey around the lake, observational, following standard protocols that we've developed. And then at several of the sites, 3 of the sites, which we still are doing this year internally and probably with a select group of volunteers collecting dragonfly samples for a Mercury project that is also nationwide in coordination with USGS. So very field intensive. A lot of the sites are off trail again, places people would never even think about going. They get in waders, measure, handle, observe everything that's going on in the lake.
I had a 2-part question
Sure.
about amphibians. So what are some ideal lakes for amphibians, and where like you're guaranteed to find something? And then off of that, salamanders and newts, like what are some good spots to find those in the east side preferably?
Oh, in the east side. Well, I would, yeah, sure. So the thing, okay. I would say if you're looking for gracilli, like northwestern salamanders, and you're interested in going to a kind of a remote, beautiful lake, Lake Allen is one of those lakes that you'll crest, and they're just kind of swimming everywhere in the lake. So Tipsu is an interesting lake because of it is one of the 13 known western toad breeding sites in the park, which has always been kind of surprising to me considering, the heavy use there. But that's a location you can go for western toads. Some lakes have all four, like, so the maximum aquatic species we expect at one lake is probably 4, and some will have just 1. So Tipsu, while they have Cascades frogs and western toads, a lake like Allen would have, they'd have both types of gracilli, so northwestern and long toad, and also the rough-skinned newt as well. But what species in particular are you looking for?
Just salamanders in general.
Just salamanders in general. Yeah, even walking on the east side, the Natchez Peak Trail, there's a couple ponds up on the plateau there that you're sure to find salamanders in as well.
Thank you.
The Laughing Water Pond, as you're headed up to Three Lakes Trail, that has, I know, 4 species of amphibians in it. Three Lakes is a great place to wander around as well and look for amphibians. It's another western toad breeding spot. The ponds, sorry, I could go on. You asked. So the pond just, even just at the Stevens Canyon entrance, that little wetland area is also a really good spot. They have there's red-legged frogs there as well, but now would be the good time to go see spots there. So Scott Anderson is our amphibian lead. He's been here for over 10 years, and he is the person I would send anyone to for any specific questions, any interest for going in the field, identification training. I'd put you in contact with him.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. And so I kind of moving on to a slightly different topic, but still within the same theme, the North Coast and Cascades Inventory and Monitoring Network. I'm curious how many of you have heard of this? So some, yeah. It's a core part of the Park Service and its support of just general long-term monitoring and tracking trends over time. And within the aquatics program, we have climates, which again, you can go to this website and find out our sites, the data, the information, what it's used for. Glaciers. At Mount Rainier, we study 2 glaciers. We study the Emmons Glacier and the Nisqually Glacier. It's a mass balance project. Essentially, it is that those data consist of a spring visit to determine what the winter balance was, so how much snow fell over the winter. We install an ablation stake, essentially a 13-meter PVC stake in the glacier using a steam drill. And then that stake serves as a reference for melt. We come back in the summer and then again in the fall, and we can measure the loss of ice and snow based off the stake. And from these data points that we collect on the glacier, we can determine the summer balance. And the mass balance is simply the difference between the winter and the summer balance. Obviously, if there's more winter balance than summer, we have a positive year and vice versa. So we have reports on this website. We have information related to the last 12 years of how the glaciers have responded on a kind of a decadal and an annual basis. As you can imagine, it's been pretty negative here at Mount Rainier. But the third thing that I think I've alluded to, the third resource within the program, is the Mountain Lakes program. And so we have 6 lakes at Mount Rainier we've been monitoring for the last 12 years. Olympic National Park and North Cascades also have the same amount of lakes. We follow the same protocol. And so the goal is to look at changes in these lakes over time and regionally as well, using kind of standard metrics and sampling frame. And as you can imagine, in each one of those programs, there's a lot of information. So again, I wanted this to be kind of a teaser. If you're interested in learning and talking about these projects, I'd be happy to point you in the right directions, hook you up with the right people, answer any questions you have. And with each of these topics, I also have a PowerPoint that really goes in deep into the descriptions of each, and also the results of some of the data we've collected. It just seemed too much to show today. So with that, any questions? Okay. And the last topic I just wanted to introduce is related, and I'm just pulling up the spreadsheet because it was an easy thing to track. It's related to visitor use in the park. How many people are using basically our trails, where we were specifically looking at wilderness trails. This year, we're actually looking at front country trails and to some extent paradise. And we have data collected through trail counters at these locations. And I think that for the purpose of Mount Rainier, as those of you have been here, you know, we have popular trails that everyone goes to visit. And then we have these trails that really are low use. Like, so if you want to come to Mount Rainier and you want to experience solitude and those things that 97% of Mount Rainier offers in terms of wilderness, there are places that we can tell people to go, but we know if people are going to go to Carter Falls or Comet Falls or even Eunice Lake, which was kind of a surprise to me, that they're going to expect to see high visitation, they're going to pass a lot of people, and it's going to be busy. So it's just one of those messaging things I think that we can help people try and determine what their interest is, try and present opportunities for different experiences in the park. So I just wanted to introduce that topic. This year, we're working on the Paradise to Nisqually entrance planning effort. We all know, all those that have been working in the park, it's a really busy corridor all the way from the entrance to Paradise. And so trying to get a handle on when visitors come, peak use, when parking lots fill, how many people are on the Paradise Trail is another point of data collection for this summer. In this very odd year, granted. It'll be interesting to see how visitation picks up or doesn't pick up this year. I think we got the trail counters out a couple days before the park opened, but every year is such a different story, this one in particular. Any questions related to that? Okay, well, I just wanted to present a snapshot of all really the topics resources that we are working on. I think the main projects to summarize this year would be just the continuation of air quality data collection. We have a focus project at Ohanabacosh this summer related to kind of the high intensity of smoke that can accumulate there related to the campground and the campfires. We're continuing with some soundscapes data collection and hoping to support that in the development of the air tour management plan. We're really focusing on the aquatic ecosystem restoration, the fish removal, getting the word out about the updated fishing regulations, still planning to improve some of these fish passage culverts. The amphibian work related to long-term monitoring continues, and we'll continue with the Dragonfly project and probably pull in a few of our long-term citizen science local folks that know we're going to do it. So we'll have a small group going out. Continue maintaining all the continue maintaining all the weather stations in the park. And we have probably 10 of them that we do, from Camp Muir to Sunrise to Carbon River, and then accumulating that data and just trying to tell the story of the peak, the story of the previous year, because, you know, what we all know about weather is it really puts everything into context. It helps with phonology, even soundscapes related to weather. Humidity, wind impacts soundscapes. So all of these resources that we study, we always tend to put them in context of what the weather was at any given time. So those data become really important. And then again, continuing with the visitor experience and kind of the data collection related to visitor use in the park. And trying to figure out, as we think about the future, 10 years from now, when perhaps we have who knows how many more people, how we can help distribute use, how we can improve people's visitor experience and still protect the resources. So all these, you know, I like to think about these programs and the data we collect really as informing our decisions for an ultimate goal of trying to protect resources. in the park. And we have a good team that's helping do that. So I want to make sure that whoever's interested in any particular one of these topics gets the information they need. So with that, I just want to open up to any questions.
Rebecca, are there for interpreters to be involved in a citizen science project this summer?
Well, I think so. The main project that someone could get involved with would be probably going out with the 1 or 2 amphibian leads that we have, and then also some coordinated effort with the dragonfly mercury sampling. Yeah, so it would, again, more limited opportunities than last year, but still some.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else?
What's your favorite amphibian?
I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be the rough-skinned newt. I think it's a little more cryptic. You know, it has an interesting ability and toxin, you know, in its skin that promotes its self-preservation, I would say. And then finding the eggs of a rough-skinned newt is almost impossible. So I think I appreciate their cryptid nature. Yeah. What is the expectation of, so East Side, I'm looking at a larger group this summer. Will you be presenting programs this year, or is this still to be determined?
We will not be presenting formal programs this year. So our main duty will be preventative search and rescue, providing information at information. But we're hopefully gonna do some pop-up type programs that will be short and kind of swing by. The visitors will like drop by and unscheduled. So there's an opportunity there for folks to develop some information around these topics.
That's great.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if, you know, again, I encourage anyone to reach out for additional information. And if you are interested in going out with the crew, it certainly is a possibility this year, depending on your schedules.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, no further distance. Anyone else on the line? Well, thank you so much, Rebecca, for
Sure.
being with us today in this weird way.
I'm glad you got your audio working.
Yeah, it's like hit or miss over here, depending on which laptop. Okay, take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.